It's one of the things that makes World Spa as a project and as a brand absolutely unlike anything else. There are a lot of small spas and brands like Grassroots or even some older brands are around. And New York is famous for the bathing culture starting from like 60s, 70s. What we decided to do as a main core of our concept is to travel the world, select the most popular and the most authentic traditions, which are usually represented by some kind of cabins, like in Nordic cultures. They call saunas. In Eastern Europe, they will be calling banyas, but don't banya in sort of like in Ukrainian, Russian, or Polish means a sauna with a lot more steam.
Hello, welcome to Deep Current by Oceans. I'm your host, Kaylor, and this is the show built for people who actually run operations in hospitality, the leaders that make it all possible behind the scenes. Today, I'm joined by Leonid Khanin. He's the product director and co-founder at World Spa in New York. Welcome to the show, Leo.
Hi, great to be here.
Leo, so before we dive in, can you tell us, please, about your career, about your former roles, how you landed in hospitality, and whether that was a deliberate path or something that just pulled you in organically?
Well, I would rather say that it was the second. And I started as a corporate architect, designing high-rise and large-scale urban projects like Comcast headquarters in Philadelphia or a few towers in New York, and even one in Rio de Janeiro. It was a part of star architect team, and I've been practicing corporate architecture for 15 years. After that, I switched to design museums, and it was a sort of like logical move. I wanted to talk to the guests with more interactive components and sort of like on a scale of interiors and some kind of narrative. That's where I got my sort of creativity towards creating a journeys for people in the museums, especially in presidential libraries which I was involved. It was crucial to create a very specific scenario for the visit of the museum guests. After museums, I got a call from a group of developers and builders in Brooklyn, and they were planning to build a small spa, probably like maybe quarter of the size of whatever we end up building. And first I was very skeptical about like the conversation of what they're up to. I thought that this project is just something that is not going to happen. But then I thought, with the sort of necessity and like the social vacuum that was within this movement back about 8 years ago, I thought it would be great to build something social, big, and urban. And that's how I ended up being a part of this team. And we started designing project as something small, and it got into 50,000 square feet. So that's my story.
Okay. Tell me about the project development phase. What was important to consider as you were working through it? And the reason I'm asking this question, I recall when we first met, you told me this story about spas, right? And how they are a culture around the world, and how you wanted to bring that in a way that was genuine and authentic. So could you tell us more about that?
Sure, definitely. It's one of the things that makes World Spa as a project and as a brand and absolutely unlike anything else. There are a lot of small spas and brands like Grassroots or even some older brands are around. And New York is famous for the bathing culture starting from like 60s, 70s. What we decided to do as a main core of our concept is to travel the world, select the most popular and the most authentic traditions, which are usually represented by some kind of cabins, like in Nordic cultures. They call saunas. In Eastern Europe, they will be calling banyas, but don't banya in sort of like in Ukrainian, Russian, or Polish means a sauna with a lot more steam. So it's not like, in Spanish and stuff. So, and hammams in more Asian and Middle Eastern. And osens or those hot pools in Icelandic and Japanese tradition. So we were traveling, gathering information, researching, reading. Then we thought that we'll be able to build and replicate most of these traditions by local vendors in New York, thinking about, variety of construction abilities we have here. And then we decided even to go even deeper. We thought like, why we need to reproduce whatever we've seen, this amazing craftsmanship that we've seen in different places, especially in Eastern Europe or Nordic. And why can't we just ask them to build it there, assemble, then we'll accept it, then disassemble, put it in a container, travel through the ocean, and then we'll build it here. And that's how we've done it. So most of the cabins that you will see representing different variety of cultures in the World Spa, they are actually built at the source. So that's what makes it very special, especially if you'll go on the website and you'll see sort of like click through the images and you will see that they are unlike any other bathing facility in the United States or even outside of it.
I think that is remarkable. And I did see the incredible spas that you guys have. Now, beyond just the spas, and because I like to get a little bit into the details of the operation, tell me more about the scale. You've already mentioned the property size, but can you shed more light into the team structure, for example, the number of visitors, the types of operations that go on every day there?
Yeah, it's quite simple the way it sounds, but it's not simple to operate it. By the way, originally my role was just to design and develop sort of like the concept, branding, and design and aesthetics for including the name and everything. And I wasn't planning to run it. And I'm involved in operational stuff, but still sort of like more on the uh, let's say strategical sort of like moving forward things. Answering your question, as average daily going through the whole year, it's probably from, let's say, 350 to 900 visitors a day, which is quite a lot because again, within our concept, which is quite upscale, most of the visitors who are coming here for the first time, they're shocked because they see the same quality of materials and care, usually when they travel and stay within like 4 or 5 star hotels. That's where you see that level of spa sort of treatment, quality, and interior approach. This is different. This is you pay general admission or you becoming a member and you can have it as much as you want. You can come in the morning and leave at the end of the day, which quite a few people do because a lot of people do. They understand that it's not a 2 hour visit. And again, that makes the concept special. Another thing is, so when you come to the spa, it's a big portal that glows at night, about 2 3 floors, and you're entering it and you're going to the check-in where you're getting a wristband, sort of like that, which has the special chip in it, which allows you to open your locker, get your bathrobe, change, and then your credit card is stored in the same chip, so you're paying with the same thing, and you getting the access to certain parts of facility based on whatever general admission you pick. So we have a special VIP level, which is the level of our members, and VIP, which is a lot quieter. And when it gets crowded, and you can imagine when you have 350 or sometimes 400 people on the floor at once, no matter how big your facility is, you'll feel it. We're trying to create the environment where people can relax. Again, what I want to mention specifically, World Spa is not a Zen spa. So if you're coming to meditate, there's a certain amount of time where you have to, like you can come only early in the morning or specific hours or specific days when it can be working like that. It is more entertainment. And that's why it is, I call it more social or, like post-COVID renaissance where you all connect. And we need so much of interactivity where people are, some of them still stuck in working from home and slowly getting open to get to big social events. But hopefully it is happening. So I see it more and more every other month.
So, Leo, tell me about something that is hard of the operation, something that is hard about your job that somebody outside the industry probably wouldn't appreciate.
Hardest is probably, for me personally, was to switch from being a designer and sort of creative within my comfortable space and circle of people, professional circle. Because when you study architecture and then you work with developers, you work with financial institutions, you work, and you suddenly finding yourself on the floor with 300 people who have a lot of questions, a lot of attitudes, variety. Somebody is just overwhelmed, somebody is happy, and somebody is just like they need help. This is something new for me. This was never a part of my day to day sort of things that or skills to help people that I have no idea who they are. But that's sort of like on a personal. If you're asking professionally, I think to make all these components of one business, which is food and beverages, treatment center with all the variety of treatments, the main floor with up to 14 different cabins that are all functioning in a different kind of humidity and heat level, that all have lighting, that all have music. Some of them have different aromas that are there. So you're really dealing with the absolutely controlled environment. And I call this concept like a 3D concept. In real design, you're dealing with 3D, like space. That is what usually the designer controls. But then when you immerse in this 3D, you're also getting a 4D, which is a heat, because there is a heat and humidity component. So it's a 4D. And then to that, you added a music and sometimes aroma. So you basically, the only one thing that is left to you to choose as a guest is whatever is inside of you and what you think and what you feel. But outside, everything is controlled. So to control all of that, to make it up to your SOPs or standards and to make it to the high standards is a really theatric choreography that is taking, this is the major issue, not the issue, but the challenge in operation to make it controllable. I hope it makes sense.
100%. And it is not surprising, but it is very interesting because you're right. I mean, from the hospitality standpoint, you're introducing so many things that a restaurant or a hotel are not typically dealing with. The atmosphere, right? It's basically the entire reason why they're there in the first place. So, with that in mind, and you already kind of shed a little bit of light into this, but what else goes into your role day to day? Try to describe for me what a typical week looks like to the best of your abilities. I know it's very hard for somebody at a high level at a company, especially in hospitality, it's very hard because every day is different. But try to describe for me what you're mostly spending your time doing.
Well, there are probably about half of a dozen of different departments that are all interconnected. And usually, like today, I will start my day by entering the absolutely empty facility, which is just getting ready as a boat for to accept visitors. I will go through the floor and I will try to understand it if everything is up to whatever I just described. I will open the doors. I will feel like if the aroma is on the level, if the steam is intense, if the temperature in all the cabins and saunas and banyas are up to standards and up to high enough for accepting guests and not too high to accept, let's say, the New York City regulations of Department of Health. This is one thing. Okay, well, that takes a few minutes. Then I get to meet with different people who are asking me questions. They sometimes I don't see certain things that needs to be fixed. For example, like I don't know, like some tile needs to be added somewhere. So we have an engineering department that will fix it. Something is urgent. Something can wait until it's going to be evening and the guest will be not around. We have to make decisions on that. It is very critical because urgent stuff needs to be fixed before people get in. Then we have meetings with a variety of departments about like staffing, like whoever needs to, like more people, seasonal stuff like summer, winter, variety of stuff. Marketing is extremely important. That's a little later, but it is important because we need to know, what's our strategy. For example, like Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, any of these special events on the way that will be overcrowded or they need a special packaging. And one thing that is something that I like the most and which is extremely important is to jump in the car and visit new sites. for the expansion.
Okay, so you're going through an expansion right now?
Sure, sure. Yeah, I'm looking for new places. It takes in New York. It's extremely challenging because what happened to this place like 8 years ago in a place which is now a world spot, it was a parking lot with a few broken trucks. There was nothing. It's a brand new building. I'm thinking of building facilities bigger than that, and this is not small. 50,000 square feet is not a joke. I don't think that in New York for a facility of that size, it's probably, if you ask ChatGPT, it's going to say that what spa is the largest spa in New York City. And New York City is not small. The variety is here. And there are old places that are not even called spas, and they're more family oriented because the world spa is more for adults. We don't let kids in. The reason for that is adults deserve some time without the kids. We had the idea of adding the special component to the spa so people can bring their kids and they'll be entertained while adults will have their leisure time. And by traveling and seeing this concept integrated in the other facilities, we understood that it absolutely not needed. Because if you're a mother and you know that you're leaving a kid downstairs, before relaxing and having a good time, you'll go 5 times to check on your kid before you will actually get in the pool or anything. So better if mothers will leave their kids with somewhere far away, like, at home with the babysitters or with their relatives.
I hear you. Yeah. And you were also describing the pricing model. So you said there are subscriptions. People basically sign up and it's kind of like a gym membership where they'll come in as many times as they want. Do you handle different types of subscriptions? Is it all mostly the same, just on a monthly basis? What happens if somebody just wants to come in once? How does that work if somebody wants to use the facilities?
Yeah, so it's actually that's what very special about it. It's easy because there is a general admission at the door. You just go and pay. You can come for on the weekdays, and you'll be surprised. Our weekdays really starts not Monday; they start Tuesday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, those are the days where you can get a pretty good deal for entrance, and you can check them on the web. We do have ability to do flexible pricing, so it depends on the season. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday are the weekends. And the reason for that, you'll be surprised how many people in New York actually work on the weekend. So Monday is their weekend. And so we structure the pricing based on that. And we do have a lot of members. These people add World Spa to their daily schedule, weekly schedule as a family member. And you'll be surprised like there are some people I've seen on the floor basically every other day or sometimes every day for last 3 years. And interesting enough, it's part of their culture, I guess. What's happening is some of them are, let's say, people who work night shifts. And before going to, let's say, Staten Island or to faraway place where they live to commute, they don't want to do it in the morning when it's crazy traffic and whatever. They go to the world spas and about 3, 4, 5 hours, sometimes 3, 4 hours to reset and then get in the car in the middle of the day and go to so it's interesting how people utilize place like that and using the membership discounts, which they usually get like quarter membership or half a year or a year. We have a variety of. It depends, if you're getting a year, you're definitely getting a much better deal. And I think you also get a parking upstairs and you get an access to quite a few features and discounts on the floor. So I guess that's what makes it sweet. So I see a lot more and more members, and they even have a different color of bathrobe. Somehow they like it.
And what is the distribution? I don't know if you know this, but if you do, and if you can share kind of like a rough estimate, what's the distribution or the percentage between members visiting at any given day versus general admission? Is there a relatively predictable number there?
Hard to say. I wouldn't be disclosing it. I would still say that the percentage of the members will be still very low comparing to the general admission. So again, it's not hundreds of people, but you understand we're talking about hundreds of people visiting facility. And if you'll ask me, let's say the percentage of females versus the male crowd, that is very noticeable and it's visible. And it is a very interesting conversation because ladies, they have a very specific way to choose their spas.
I totally see that. I can see why. But how do you push? Because I imagine memberships are very beneficial for some, like World Spa, for example. And so, if a minority of visitors are members, is there an active push to make more people members constantly?
Not really. This is a good question. I like it because in a way, I would not recommend to push on the membership hard because most of the facilities in New York City, unlike your Cipriani, they were not very successful with the amount of members. And it's not like, for members, you have to give a lot of perks, but at the same time, you have to be a very specifically located. World Spa is not located in the middle of Manhattan. We're not downtown. We're not next to Wall Street. So I think if the next location will be a lot closer or in certain areas where we are a lot more accessible, then the membership will be a lot more popular. We want to have it. We have members, but it's not something that I would be betting on like a huge component or major. So when you ask about the correlation between the numbers of general admission and the members, I wouldn't be putting like the main number is definitely general admission.
That is very interesting because, I mean, obviously the membership exists for a reason. You have recurring revenue, that is always helpful. But I guess what I'm reading in between the lines of what you're telling me here as well is revenue is healthy from both ends, both general admission and memberships, and you need to have a balance because the members obviously take more work. It's kind of like what you're telling me as well.
Right, they need perks, and if you give them, let's say, if they're accepting the fact that they want, if you're giving them parking, then they accept it, and they just want this parking all the time, even if your parking lot is absolutely full. They just, it's we handle it well, but again, you don't want to get, let's say, some members who will be just parking, who will be your neighbors, who will be just parking car every day there without going to the spa. What's that? Is it an expensive and convenient parking lot? No. We want it to be available to people who are enjoying the facility and sharing their enrollment with the others like that.
What about the ancillary revenue? Is that something that you count on, or is it more a need? The reason this is an interesting question is, I mean, obviously for hotels, depending on what the hotel is, sometimes they will heavily rely on the restaurant to bring in extra profits. Sometimes the restaurant just exists because they need an ability to offer breakfast, or just serve people that are around the area, and just because it's a necessary, let's say, evil for them, and it doesn't really generate much. In the case of World Spa, you did mention there is a food and beverage operation going on there. So my question about ancillary revenue is because of this. Is it because you need to have it, or is it a real thing that you want to bring as much demand from as possible?
It is very embedded it in the overall concept of the space because certain dishes are even aligning and paired with the experiences that you're getting. Let's say, and another thing, we don't want our guests to starve because the physiological thing about when you sweat and you want to drink a lot, tea or whatever you want to drink, you don't want them to leave or look for another place. And especially in this area, there are not that many places where you can get a good quality food. It's quite industrial and the good restaurants are not even around. So to be able to for people to last longer, let's say, we want their visit to be average 4 hours, but they can stay longer. On the weekends, we do limit people, especially on the peak season. You only get access for 4 hours, and then each extra hour is additional charge that is integrated, and they know it. And but again, if you will order a certain amount of food on a certain balance, this hour will be overridden, so it's included. So you see how it works. They benefit from each other's. People have time to relax. They're not afraid of being hungry because they can land on the floor on the table at any table and quickly get their order even through the app. And the food actually more towards, it's not the upscale, but comparing to any spas that are now in New York City, it's probably on the highest level. And it took a lot of time for us to come with this menu. We changed menu probably more than 2 dozen times in order to adjust. There were certain items on the menu that I was, for example, absolutely against. And then we did the test and we understood that it's absolutely needed. People need this item, and no matter what I think about it.
Right, right. I hear you. Man, that comes with running a business of this scale, right? I mean, you got to give the people what they want. But I can see
Yeah.
that from your operational standpoint, there must have been reasons why you didn't think it made sense to have those menu items. While we're in the topic of food, Leo, how do you manage inventory? Is because again, this is part of operation. Clearly, it's a very integral part of the spa, but it's also one more thing to constantly keep track of, right? Which is food costs now that you have to also contemplate, and inventory and staffing for the F&B operation. So something like inventory management, what is your approach to it? Is there a system that allows you to predict the demand and what you need to order, or is it largely the judgment of the people that work in that area?
Well, we do have two senior people who are in charge of actually three in the food and beverages component, and we do have a huge freezer and fridge that was dedicated to our operation. The kitchen is not big, unfortunately, because there were certain change in the concept and the size of the kitchen suffered. Though we've tried to order equipment and make this kitchen absolutely state of the art in terms of ability to bring so much, because we have about 250 seats that we can bring food to. Usually it's less needed, and that's a good thing because we don't want the whole spot to look like an eating facility. We break the spaces, and people who are having the aquathermal experience usually don't see people who are dining, vice versa, because it just we sort of separate this, and we're able to do it within the space. In terms of, again, answering your question about the inventory, we do have three people who are, I don't know what the system they're using, but I know that they are very specific about the freshness of the food, and it is reflecting on the pricing for sure. And I know that some people are not happy because they would like to get, let's say, a lot cheaper food for a lot less, just because that's what they got used to. But then it's my answer to them is like, I'm sorry, guys, just order less, or if you want to stay on a budget, or eat before you come, which I would not recommend because it's not really physiologically advisory. Coming on a full stomach, it's really hard for you to go through all the sounds and stuff. Just doesn't go well. It's good to get really hungry and then order food later after all of that stuff.
Well, I could definitely see your point there because you're not a restaurant. So there's got to be a premium to the fact that it's within the spa, the proximity, the convenience, the ability for them to have it right on the spot. And then on top of that, you're making quality a big element of it so that you can also justify kind of that additional margin. So totally see that. The reason I was curious is because food costs tends to run really high in hospitality, and most people struggle with kind of finding that. Sounds like you figured out a way that the food cost stays healthy. Is that right?
It's absolutely right. And it is a balance, like to find the size of the portions and based on whoever ordering, and like, menu is quite big. And I'm not mistaken if I'll say that it is really towards a healthy, like, request. So there are a lot of salads. They're all fresh. There are a lot of products, and like they can be like dumplings, but those dumplings will be a special dumplings. And it took some time actually to find the right supplier for the dumplings of this.
But seeing that we do have little time left, Leo, and I'd like to ask you about your plans for the future. Let me ask you a couple of questions just regarding that future forward looking perspective of the business. And clearly you're going through this expansion, right? So I imagine that's taking a lot of your time. But beyond that, tell me, what is one thing that's been on your mind for a while that you would love to be able to fix from the operations standpoint at World Spa, and you haven't been able to get to it either because you need the hands or the time, or you just don't know what the solution for it is yet?
The only one thing that is now missing, or something that I would like to add towards Spa, is outside space. We are in an industrial area, and the way this project is built don't really we're not really able to let people outside and enjoy the weather. In the future facilities, we definitely will need people to be able to get on a roof, to be in the pools, enjoying the views, being able to get a fresh air. And this is something that we were able to, with certain compromises, to get inside the facility, like a snow room where the snow is falling from the ceiling. Extremely popular room, especially for people who are doing like all this kind of TikTok and funny snowball fights. And that never thought that this room will be so popular. Always were designing and thinking about this room as the answer to how can I get outside? Well, you get in and you feel like you're inside outside. So this is something that I would like to basically to have in the new facilities, and will be there, and that will give a different perspective and probably ability to attract more people who are into, let's say, being in a pool while watching the stars or whatever.
I hear you. And what is one decision that you or somebody from your team has made in the past 12 months that has made a really good difference in how you operate? Maybe in the revenue margins, maybe in efficiency, maybe in time, whatever, right? One decision that you would recommend hospitality operators consider making.
It's a tough one because if it's just one, many decisions were made towards opening and showing the guests that we're welcoming them, not just, get and enjoy it, but to show that we work with them and we see whatever they want, like to see whatever their needs are, something sensitive, something important. What I will say, but it's been like that from the very beginning. For example, keeping a huge facility extremely clean. This is such a crucial, critical, and at the same time, especially for female crowd, is extremely important because I'm getting a lot of guests from the other facilities who are regularly in the other brands, and they saying like, compare. And it is important because people coming here to get well, to get better, to socialize, and as I discussed with you previously, to open up and become more happier, to become happier, loving, and as we discussed, the love will save the world. And so we're working small steps in the World Spa to make people moving in this direction, being open, being happy, and being more loving each other.
That is a wonderful note to kind of start wrapping up the show with, Leo. Well, first of all, thank you so much for making the time to be in the show. I think all of these insights are very valuable. I love how you describe the differences that apply only to spas within hospitality, which are still part of this industry. But I mean, so many nuances, especially with the 5D experiences, as you described. And so much that goes into this that probably somebody that is not or does not run a spa would probably not be familiar with. So really appreciated that. But where can our listeners keep up with you and what you're building at World Spa? Where can they go?
You mean what should they visit or?
Yeah, I mean, social media, for example. Do you have a website that they can check out
Yeah, the
physically?
website is there is a website, worldspa.com. There is also an Instagram page, which is quite popular, and that explains on the website. If they want to see the cabins, there is a special tab that is saying, I think in the menu it shows the spaces. Like, so it's not only about checking in; it shows what you're getting. I think it's called gallery. So if somebody wants to see the space before they come, they can just search through the gallery and they will understand what is that and what makes it so special. But the main thing is actually people. I think our team, the people who are running it, like the what you feel, what is the personal touch on the floor. Like we have a list of beautiful, amazing professionals who will help you, advise you on what kind of treatment you can get, what is the sequence of the journeys you can get. For example, we do have this thing on the website AI. You enter your expectations, like you want an energy boost, and it creates a map for you. What is the sequence of, let's say, saunas and cold dips or whatever you need to do in order to get an energy boost, or you need, let's say, a stress release. It's a different thing, and the AI will tell you if you trust and open what is the other sequence. And it's quite well and nicely operated. I've seen a lot of people using it. It's really cool.
Great. Well, amazing. Thank you so much. And for everybody else, thank you for tuning into Deep Current. If you are an operator and anything that we discuss here with Leo resonates with you, you would want to keep that conversation going, feel free to reach out. We're available at oceanscode.com. Until then, I see you next time. And thank you once again, Leo, for participating.
It was my
It was
pleasure.
my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.